Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling and wondering what it all means? Or maybe you've caught yourself in the middle of the grocery store, frozen in the cereal aisle, suddenly questioning if your choices are truly free or predetermined by forces beyond your control. If so, congratulations. You've been doing philosophy without even realizing it. The questions that keep us up at night, about reality, knowledge, ethics, existence, these aren't just random thoughts. They're the beginning of a journey that humans have been on for thousands of years. A journey called philosophy. Welcome to Dialectic Mind. And today we're exploring a deceptively simple question with incredibly complex answers. What exactly is philosophy? Whether you're completely new to philosophical thinking or you're looking to refresh your understanding, this video will give you the foundation you need to join the great conversation that's been unfolding for over 2,500 years. We'll explore philosophy's origins, its main branches, how it differs from religion and science, and why it matters in your everyday life, even if you've never picked up a philosophical text. So let's begin our journey into the love of wisdom. The word philosophy comes from the Greek words philo, meaning love, and sophia, meaning wisdom, literally, the love of wisdom. But what does it mean to love wisdom? For the ancient Greeks who first developed philosophy as a discipline, it meant something quite specific: the passionate pursuit of understanding through rational inquiry, rather than through tradition, authority, or divine revelation. Around the 6th century BCE in ancient Greece, something remarkable happened. Thinkers began to move away from mythological explanations for natural phenomena and started to seek rational, evidence-based understandings of the world. Consider Thales of Miletus, often called the first philosopher. Instead of attributing thunderstorms to Zeus's anger, he began asking what natural processes might explain weather patterns. He was the first recorded person to ask not just what is happening, but why is it happening in terms we can understand and explain. This shift from the gods did it to there might be natural principles at work was revolutionary. It's the foundation of not just philosophy, but eventually of all systematic human knowledge. Or take Socrates, perhaps the most famous early philosopher, who wandered Athens asking seemingly simple questions that revealed how little people actually knew about concepts they used every day. What is justice? He would ask, and when people answered, he would question their assumptions until they realized their own uncertainty. This reveals something crucial about philosophy. It's not just about finding answers. It's about asking better questions and examining the assumptions that underlie our thinking. Philosophy represents systematic inquiry into the most fundamental questions of human existence. Questions about what is real, how we know things, how we should live, and what it all means. While philosophy covers incredibly diverse territory, traditionally it's been divided into 3 main branches: metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. Think of these as the trunk of the philosophical tree from which many other specialized branches have grown. Metaphysics asks the most fundamental questions about reality itself. What kinds of things truly exist? What is the nature of reality? Do we have free will, or is everything determined? Consider this classic metaphysical puzzle. Imagine a ship that, over time, has every single one of its wooden parts replaced. Once the final original plank is swapped out, is it still the same ship? This ship of Theseus problem asks what makes something what it is: its physical parts, its form, its function, or something else entirely. Or think about your own mind and body. Are you just your physical brain, or is there something more to consciousness? Could your mind theoretically be transferred to a computer? These aren't just science fiction questions. They're metaphysical explorations of what reality is made of and how it works. The second major branch is epistemology, which investigates knowledge itself. How do we know what we know? What makes a belief justified? What's the difference between opinion and knowledge? Imagine this. What if you're actually just a brain floating in a vat of nutrients, with scientists stimulating your neurons to create the perfect illusion of the world you're experiencing right now? How could you possibly know you're not? This famous thought experiment highlights the challenge of knowing anything with absolute certainty. Even our senses, which we rely on constantly, can be deceived by optical illusions, hallucinations, or simple mistakes. So epistemology asks, what foundations can we build reliable knowledge upon? The third major branch is ethics, which explores questions of value, goodness, and how we ought to live. What makes an action right or wrong? What does it mean to live a good life? What do we owe to each other? Consider this famous ethical dilemma. A runaway trolley is heading down tracks where 5 people are trapped. You can pull a lever to divert the trolley to another track where only 1 person is trapped. Should you pull the lever? Different ethical frameworks give different answers. A utilitarian might say yes, because saving 5 lives at the cost of 1 creates greater happiness overall. A deontologist might say no, because actively causing someone's death is wrong regardless of the consequences. Ethics isn't just academic. It's at the heart of our daily choices, our laws, our politics, and our social institutions. When you decide whether to return a lost wallet or how to respond to someone in need, you're engaging with ethical questions that philosophers have debated for millennia. Philosophy shares territory with both religion and science, but has its own unique approach and purpose. Both philosophy and religion often address similar big questions. Why are we here? How should we live? What happens after death? But they differ in their methods. Religious answers typically stem from revelation, scripture, or tradition, accepting certain truths on faith. Philosophy, while respecting religious perspectives, approaches these questions through rational argument, evidence, and critical examination of all claims. Many great philosophers have been deeply religious, showing these aren't opposed ways of thinking. Philosophy simply adds tools of systematic questioning to the search for understanding. Science and philosophy share a commitment to rational inquiry, but science focuses on empirical, testable questions about the physical world. Philosophy explores questions that often can't be settled by experiment alone. In fact, science began as natural philosophy. The scientific method itself emerged from philosophical thinking about how to gain reliable knowledge. When we do science, we're using a philosophical approach refined for empirical investigation. Philosophy asks questions that science presupposes but can't answer through its own methods. What counts as good evidence? Why should we trust logic and mathematics? What makes a scientific theory better than another? What ethical principles should guide scientific research? Philosophy isn't just for academics in ivory towers. It's alive in your daily decisions and the questions you grapple with, whether you realize it or not. When you vote, you're acting on philosophical assumptions about justice, rights, and the proper role of government. When you make moral judgments about current events, you're applying ethical principles. When you weigh evidence for health choices or news stories, you're using epistemological standards. In our age of information overload and competing claims to truth, philosophical thinking is more essential than ever. It gives us tools to evaluate arguments, detect fallacies, and think critically about what we're told. As Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Philosophy provides the tools for that examination, helping us live more intentionally and thoughtfully. For me, philosophy has transformed how I approach disagreements. Rather than just arguing my position, I've learned to identify the underlying assumptions that create the disagreement in the first place. This doesn't always resolve the conflict, but it certainly leads to more productive conversations. This kind of philosophical thinking can improve your relationships, your decision-making, and your sense of purpose. By questioning assumptions and clarifying your values, you gain greater clarity about what matters most to you. As Epictetus put it, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about those things. Philosophy helps us examine those judgments, giving us greater freedom and peace of mind. So what is philosophy? It's the systematic inquiry into fundamental questions about reality, knowledge, and values. It's the discipline that questions the assumptions other fields take for granted. It's the love of wisdom expressed through critical thinking, careful reasoning, and open-minded exploration. Philosophy isn't about having all the answers. As Bertrand Russell beautifully expressed it, the point of philosophy is to start with something so simple as not to seem worth stating, and to end with something so paradoxical that no one will believe it. As we end today's exploration, I leave you with this question to ponder. In what areas of your life might you benefit from more philosophical thinking, from examining your assumptions rather than just acting on them? In our next video, we'll build on today's foundation by exploring how to think like a philosopher. Practical tools you can use to bring philosophical clarity to everyday situations. If you found value in this introduction to philosophy, please subscribe to Dialectic Mind and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming explorations. Also, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What philosophical questions do you find most compelling? Thank you for joining me on this journey into the love of wisdom. Until next time, keep questioning.